Our next speaker and last speaker for tonight teaches at a Clayton County public school, Forest Park High School. And education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Everyone please bring your hands together and give Mr. Tamir Mickens a big round of applause.
Hey, good evening. This has been a wonderful event. I would first like to thank Miss Olivia Poole for hosting and putting this together along with her wonderful students. It's a great friend of mine, and I'm really proud of everything that you've been doing, and I'm grateful to be here. Okay, I told you I would have this memorized by today. We're both teachers, so the things that I want to do, we typically know how that goes, so I'm going to be reading off this paper. All right. This is an essay or a speech that I wrote this summer. So let's get started. 51 years ago, in May of 1963, a movement was failing in the racially torn city of Birmingham, Alabama. Martin Luther King Jr., the civil rights movement celebrity, was toiling away in the city jail with no adults willing to go to jail for the same cause, equality. Dubbed the most segregated city in America, Birmingham had all of its movement's leaders behind bars, and a movement for equality stalled. A solution seemed impossible and distant, yet change was brought about. Being a native Atlantan, I'm very proud to be teaching in Metro Atlanta and speaking before youth here today. When examining my own education in this region, I found questions and concerns about equity popping up over and over again. I wanted to know why I could talk to a member of my church who went to North Cobb High School and realized that they didn't have to use a class set of textbooks like I did, or why I never got a chance to take a textbook home in some of my classes. I wanted to know why another school on the north side of my county had more AP course offerings than I did. I was puzzled how in my own school, 9th grade students in the magnet program could take classes inside of the building, but the rest were forced to learn in dilapidated trailers. Was I cheated? Was my playing field level? The push for equity today is different from yesterday's push for equality. The civil rights movement established equality in principle and broke down visible barriers. However, you can't just have the right to sit at the front of a bus. Today, you need a bus that is frequent in your neighborhood. Where does that bus or MARTA train actually allow you to go? What places does it want to keep you out of? Does it connect you to employment and provide a platform for economic, social, and physical mobility? These same questions apply to the schools that we walk through every day. The answers to these questions we either know or don't want to know. However, all of us as teachers, students, and community leaders can dream and craft visions. Paulo Freire writes that we should attempt to live part of our dreams within our educational space. A classroom can serve as an oasis of optimism where teachers, students, parents, and community generate glimpses of an equitable society that we could live in, and where students learn the critical and academic skills needed to make that a reality. I was faced with this challenge before I had even prepared my first lesson. So this summer, on my first day of classroom observations, before I became a teacher, a student was bombarding his teacher with serious questions about his present reality. He was asking in the middle of this lesson, why is there no transportation for us to get here? I have to walk. Is the school not concerned about my safety? Why are we not being served lunch or breakfast? Why is the school more concerned about what I'm wearing than what I'm learning? You see, the misconception that these urban kids don't care about their education had me delighted to see a student asking these questions. However, he was completely shut down and kicked out of class for being a disruption. Now, while that may not have been the time or the place for such a discussion, I was emotionally disturbed that a moment to empower a student that wanted to advocate for his own education slipped away right in front of me, his teacher, and everyone else that was watching. I then made it my goal to push my students to ask questions, to think critically, because good scientists have the right answers, but great scientists have the right questions. I pushed them to stand firm in their beliefs while listening to what others may have to offer. I pushed them to examine their present realities, work hard now, and take charge of their education so that they may have the credentials to solve them later in life for the next generation. It was, and believe me, it still is a challenge to get these principles to self-actualize in my students, and I know I have not succeeded with all. Yet I try to teach them to love and acknowledge their indignities. Even God was not able to create humanity until God loved the dirt enough to breathe his or her own spirit into it and create life. And even if you don't believe in that, the point is that no vision can be fulfilled until the visionary realizes the power of the undesirable. We must love and care about our indignities enough to transform them into dignities and spark the mind that will transform them. No one can become their dream until they are willing to love their present reality. So by now, I'm sure we've all come across the pictures in our history books of young people being doused by fire hoses and bitten by dogs. It took all of that to happen for people to buy a sandwich at a lunch counter, to swim in a pool, or to get nicer textbooks. However, look a little bit deeper past the surface and ask yourself, what has really changed? 51 years is actually not that long ago. Emancipation was a proclamation, not a fact. You didn't catch that. Emancipation was a proclamation, not a fact. They were not afraid to go to jail. They were not afraid to walk for miles. They were not afraid to risk their lives for change, some as young as 6 years old. This generation has access to so much, but is it being fueled and channeled into the right places? Enjoy the song and the dance for what it's worth. But we could actually start by actually being concerned that someone's body was caught about a week ago, and weeks and minutes ago. Some people in the room may not get that reference, but that's fine. But we could start by channeling our anger in the hallways into our work inside of the classroom. We could love and care enough for each other for humanity's sake, because we are all just one risky decision away from being a hashtag on someone's timeline. It's your time, young people. I'm with you. I'm not that old, right? But equity will not be actualized until we start loving and stand up. Thank you.